Hi, my name is Terry Russell and welcome back to Panic at the Book Club. This week we'll be discussing 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tillie Cole. If you'd like to take part in this online book club, you can find out more information on how via the channel's intro video. We list the next 4 books down below and on TikTok, along with the discussion dates. That way you can choose the genre that best suits you and the best time frame to read it in. We also accept your book feedback in a wide manner of ways. Post your comment below a video, send in a voice note, or even send in a short video clip of you discussing the book. Alternatively, you could just send me a direct message on Instagram. 2 hearts, 1 love story, and an ending you'll never forget. Rue and Poppy met as children, and they promised to be friends forever. As teenagers, their friendship grew into a love that promised to last a lifetime. But their worlds were shattered when Rune was sent to his native Norway. 2 years later, Rune returns and Poppy is ready to begin their happily ever after. But the Rune who returns is not the boy she remembers. What happened to turn her sweet, thoughtful Rune into this brooding stranger? And will the secret that Poppy is holding bring them closer together or separate them forever? Discover the story that will break your heart and make you believe that true love really lasts an eternity. Just your friendly spoiler alert that if you haven't read this book yet, I would suggest going doing that first because beyond this point there may be spoilers. The chapters in this book really varied in length, but for the most part they were anywhere between 15 and 30 pages, which is a little on the lengthy side for me, but to be honest, it was so fast paced and such an easy read that it went by pretty quickly. Straight off the bat, the first chapter introduces you to Poppy's new adventure, which is featured throughout the book, 1,000 Boy Kisses. Now, despite the chapter being mostly about her grandmother dying, it was actually quite a sweet read. In fact, I'd say the whole book is quite adorable. At the beginning, it was very strong on that teenage drama and naivety. It was beautifully dramatic in a way that only a young adult book can be. You know, these 2 people couldn't live without each other, and there was so much emphasis on how Rune needed Poppy. And in some ways it was quite realistic in the sense that the emotions that teenagers feel are felt so intensely and strongly. Going as far as to say that he hates his parents and he'll never forgive them. And in some ways, I can't blame him. Like, it annoyed me to no end that the parents knew for so long that they were going to move the family away. Like, even informing the neighbour that they were leaving before they told Rune, only telling him less than 24 hours before they were actually leaving. It just felt so disrespectful to me, and that part of the story just didn't seem to make any sense. They could have discussed the whole thing as a family and let him come to terms with what was happening over the space of a month rather than just dropping some horrible news on him all of a sudden. It just felt like their feelings were treated as more trivial and less important because he was a teenager. The book was definitely just as much a coming-of-age story as it was a tragic love story. I was really glad that the book didn't obsess about how sick Poppy was. It wasn't about her symptoms all the time. It was about her life and their love and about Rune growing up, learning and figuring out how to accept living a life without her in it. You know, it was about learning to appreciate life for what it is, an adventure. Now, don't get me wrong, Rune was a little annoying in the beginning, but it was a beautiful and adorable and sad piece of writing, and I couldn't help but fall in love with and become attached to these two characters as they grew up and faced their challenges. Each day and memorable moment was sweeter and more romantic than the last, but the book didn't take time to elaborate on exactly how those things were achieved. Sometimes it just kind of felt like things happened for the convenience of the story. For example, when Rune worked with Aunt Dee Dee to take Poppy away and she got pampered and she got luxury, you find out that the only reason that these things could happen in the first place is because all of a sudden Aunt Dee Dee is dating some rich guy who owned the place, and the guy was never in the book, he was never mentioned again. It just was convenient for the story. It does feel a little bit like lazy writing for me. However, the book's main focus was on the beautiful last moments that these two people spent together, rather than how the things were achieved, so it could be forgiven. If there's one thing I really dislike about young adult books, it's this overprotective parent or sibling trope, and I really didn't feel like it was needed for this book. Like, there's something wrong with you if your daughter's dying and one of your main concerns is whether or not her virginity remains intact. I love how they use the 1,000 kisses as a countdown. I thought it was a really sweet concept, and it built emotional tension, especially towards her last few weeks. The book was full of beautiful quotes, adorable and sad moments, and of course cheesy ones too. So as for would I recommend the book? Absolutely. I am someone who responds quite strongly emotionally to books. I get way too attached to the characters and invested in their adventure. For me, I can easily forgive problems that I have with the book if I am able to get stuck in, and I did find it easy to care for these characters and what it was that they were going through. Yeah, it wasn't the best writing in the world. It was super cliche and cheesy at times, and maybe the narrative and the characters could have had a little bit more time spent on the detail, although maybe that would have made the book a little bit too long. Despite that, I think the author did a brilliant job of making the reader feel a range of complex emotions, using some beautiful writing and some clever metaphors. It was very Fault in Our Stars and 5 Feet Apart with its own twist, and with a romance that fans and readers will no doubt grow up to enjoy book series like Twisted Love and stuff like that. It was dramatic, tense, and definitely full of feeling. Overall, it was an easy read, although it was pretty emotional. Who knew something could be so sweet and sad at the same time? But let me know what you thought. Did you enjoy the book? Next week we'll be discussing A Shadow in the Ember, so don't forget to get your comments and thoughts in by Monday the 5th of February to be a part of the discussion. You can now do this on YouTube, TikTok or Instagram. The following week will be The Doll's House, but don't forget, if you do need a little bit longer to read a book, we do now list the next 4 books down below and on TikTok along with the discussion dates. That way you can choose the genre that best suits you and the best time frame to read it in. Thank you all for joining, and if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It is always appreciated, and I will see you all next week. Bye!